All right, we are live. Hold on, he's trying to show you his coffee cup, but I'm going to have to zoom in on you to see it proper.
Iron Maiden.
Oh, it's Iron Maiden. All I saw was like a zombie. I was like, what do you got? Well, technically.
Yeah, my daughter got me this. She loves Maiden. She gives me cool coffee cups. She got me the Philly guy and all kinds of plenty cool stuff.
I think my wife has what's called the Grand Floridians Resort and Spa. I don't know how I got that. All right. So before we get in, of course, for the fans tuning in, what we're going to be doing is screen sharing the YouTube channel so we can get into the fans' top 5. Judd does a great job of staying on channel so he can respond to comments that are coming or going. We'll do a little roll call of who hears early, and then I'll talk about my voice is almost gone because I've been filming since early morning, and I filmed early yesterday before I went to before I went to work. Goodness, I did not go to war yesterday. Just went to work. Trevor Just is in. Nathaniel Robinson is also present. Let's see. And those two, hello, Bart and Judd. And chat people, says Nathaniel. We got 6 eyeballs on so far, so more people will be coming in. And what we like to do, so again, we'll be going over the fans' top 5 victory games. I didn't say that, victory games list. This is a follow-up show. We've been going through publishers that we have and then grabbing their games. And last week Judd and I talked about our top 5. You can go see that. Today we'll do the fans. 2 things real quick to cover. So you've got a little bit of time as I dropped a little bit of water on this. So Race to Moscow.
You're that guy, huh?
Which,
You're that guy with the water damage games.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, at least this one. I don't know if it damaged it. So what this is the preview copy I got from Phalanx. Trying to run a giveaway, so you can't even get this yet. It's packed with all kinds of plastic bits and a good-looking map. It actually looks final. I'm sure it's not. The rule book is not final. It's printed paper. But if you go back or support me on Patreon, go to patreon.com, look up Bonding with Board Games. You got to support at the $10 level, at least. That's probably where most people are coming on. So you can just go support. And you got to support in the month prior. So you support $10 level. So this month you're running out of time in August. You pick, it's a contest. You can't do giveaways. You pick a B-17 plane name, and I will be picking one name. Right now, I think we only have 3 names entered, so you got a real good chance of winning the game. I'll pick the best name for a B-17. Whoever wins pays shipping to wherever they are in the world. That way I don't have to limit it to just the United States. You pay your shipping, and you can win the game for $10. So, but hopefully, well, obviously, I'm hoping people stay and continue to support the show. We got Ronald Nicholson is in, JD's in. The other thing I'll talk about real quick, Judd. See if I can get this up here. The gentleman in the white shirt with the long skinny tie is a young Tom Shaw in 1966. The gentleman pointing at the map of Guadalcanal with his middle finger, but I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it, that is Colonel Dixon, USMC, who actually took part in assaults in Guadalcanal and was one of their technical experts. That is in the offices of Leatherneck magazine. Eric Dott is the gentleman you can see right there on the left. What?
Trevor's comment. Woo!
All right. Kansas basketball gets shut down. All right. And then I forget the name of the sales rep, but he's the guy holding on to the sheet of paper there. So that is Tom Shaw. And I got a hold of Tom. Tom is now 90, lives in the Villages. I wanted Tom to do a live show because I'm doing these Avalon Hill history live show exposés. And Tom told me I could put this out. This is not HIPAA sensitive, although I guess it is. He said he can't hear. He's 90. Even with hearing aids in, he can't hear.
I got somebody ringing the doorbell, and I'm the only one here. Just a second. Keep going.
All right. Go. So let me zoom in on me. So, boom. That'll clean that up. I wish he would have muted himself, but I can mute him here. That should solve Jordy barking in the background. Now, let me see. So, what I did was Tom could not do a live show. He said it just wasn't going to function for him. I asked if I could just maybe interview him over the phone, if that would work. He said, nope, same problem. So then I said, can I send you 20 questions and you just answer them and I will somehow create a show where I read them and still be entertaining? He said, yeah, if you can pull that off, I'll do it. Yet to see if I can pull it off, but I've got his questions. There's 20 of them, and I snuck some little sneaky ones in there that made it more like 30. And he sent me a packet of information, which included this photo and some different bios, and then we conversed back and forth on email. And I'm producing that show now. He was hoping I would get it out today. I almost managed to finish filming it today, but then it's going to take some editing. And then that will come out. It'll probably push to next Saturday. We'll see. Hold on. He's back. Let me unmute and let me bring in. There we go. Nice.
That's that ferocious, vicious dog you heard going.
Yes. He looks very happy.
Yeah, that postal guy had the audacity to put a package on my front step. Can you believe that?
Goodness.
He's lucky he got away with his life.
Defender of the Vance house.
That's right.
So, to wrap up, and then we'll get into this. So Tom was the first editor. He came up with the idea of the general. This one, Don Greenwood, was primary. That's 1975. Tom designed football strategy, and then Avalon Hill picked that up. He actually got hired by Charles Roberts to come on and be a designer, one of the first actual designers at Avalon Hill. And he ushers in when it goes out of business and Eric Dott takes it over. Well, that's a little more detailed than that, but he comes on and as Larry Pinsky with Guadalcanal and Midway and all of this goodness that's going on. And there'll be a show that'll be very different coming up on that because it's a lot of me talking. But I might bring on a special guest that explains pickleball. Why? You'll have to tune in. And my son may come in and talk like Kermit the Frog, and you'll say, why? And you'll have to tune in to see how Tom knew Jim Henson. So you have to see that when you tune in. All right, Judd, what is going on in your world? What have you been gaming? And then we'll get into what the fans have been talking about in regards to victory games.
Well, first, if you hear Captain Kirk's communicator going off a bunch, normally I mute that thing. I'm getting updates on the volleyball game. My daughter's playing volleyball. I went to the first game. It's her first high school game. So my wife's sending me updates all the time. So when you hear that chirp, 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 and see me going on my phone, that's why. Only Saturday game there is. And I didn't want to cancel this late. I found out about it late in this. So I didn't want to call you up and cancel this late into the week. So.
Wow, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So,
it was funny because I was literally filming this Tom Shaw show, and I suddenly had to find like one of my notes, and I couldn't find it. And I thought, well, let me look at the time, and it was like 10:46. I was like, oh,
yeah, I was kind of surprised.
Oh, I
yeah,
was like,
if it hadn't been for a window behind me, I was going to film from my recliner, just because the dog was conked out on my lap.
well, I couldn't believe. I was like, oh my. I mean, if it hadn't been for me not being able to find this one little note, because I was almost ready to wrap with filming, but I had to add in, there were some questions from J.C. Connors, who was present when Eric Dott fires everybody in 98 from Avalon Hill. And I'd interviewed him on a show, and I'd said, anybody got any questions for Tom that I'd previously interviewed? And he had some, and Don Masterson from Strategy Talk had some. So that's going to wrap up some of the end stuff. And I couldn't find those notes. And then I looked, I thought, well, I bet you it's about getting close to 10. And I was like, oh God. So that's why we were.
It's 5 feet away. You asked what I was doing. I'll show you.
Oh my, he's grabbing something. It's 5 feet away. You can see a reclined gaming chair in the background.
Woo! Yeah, maybe 10 feet, but not much. Okay. The In Magnificent Style victory point game that Worthington recently had the Kickstarter of.
Sure.
Okay. The, 1 million 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 they took the chits, the event chits, and made cards of them. And I was really slapped myself that I didn't think of that, because I have done that with the 3 campaign commander games, the Struggle for the Galactic Empire, something I do a lot. So I was like, really, I couldn't believe I didn't think of that earlier. Well, my VPG game is a pretty sharp looking game already. You know, it's a gold banner game, and I didn't really want to upgrade and sell off the game because I don't like having 2 copies and blah, 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 and all that. So I didn't back it. Nothing against the game. I just thought I had a really solid game as it was. And anyways, but I thought I could do that, make my own, because I do it all the time. And okay, wait a minute. I'm going to put it on mute. I'm getting bombarded.
She just like blocked a shot or something, or had
Yeah.
a spike. She spiked something.
Vorpal, I have no idea. I've never heard of the game. Anyways, so yeah, I took the rules that was online, and I just went through and I filtered out what was unique to the 2nd edition and wrote them down and said, basically, these rules changed for myself. And I went out and made my own cards from the game.
On. Let me zoom in. Hold it up again.
Oh, woo! Let's see, so you can see that. Volley Fire, Rebel Yell, stuff like that.
There, your color just got nice. Instead of cobalt blue, it got kind of tan. Hold that up again.
Oh,
that was interesting.
The top part's of the backer card that's holding it stiff, but yeah, it starts at Rebel Yell.
Oh, your color. See, look at that.
It don't look like that. It looks like back walls when it goes tan. It looks like a bunch of cigarette smokers been living here. You know, it bunks up the walls and stuff. Yeah, it is time to beam away the away team. So yeah, anyways, yeah, my daughter made a big spike. She's playing the front line. Okay, anyway, so yeah, so I did that, and there was like 4 added cards and a new rule and a new combat system. So I had pulled out my copy on War Game Monday, because I'm off every Monday for the rest of the year from work because of I have a ton of vacation built up. So yeah, so I sat down and played it, and then I put a report of it up on War Games on Your Table on BGG. Now, what was crazy was the game's about to pick its charge, and I overran 78% of the Union positions. Not a real historical result. Part of it, I had a feeling the cards that I was trying to guess what he was going with weren't quite right, and part of it was I was on fire with the dice. I really was. And
it's a pressure luck game.
Yeah. So hey, so I wanted to play it a few more times and see if it was an outlier or if I need to tweak something. Well, Herman writes me, Herman Lutman, and he's like, "Hey, would you like the files?" I'm like, "Would I? Yeah." So I think I'm going to give him a final play test on all this stuff before it comes out. So yeah, he sent me the files. So last night I upgraded my cards, and I like my format. Plus, I just know it. But anyways, and the size correctly for my sleeves. So anyways, I updated them last night and getting ready to print them off and give it a few more runs. And I'm kind of stuck in between 2 games right now as to what to play Monday, between Red Poppies, the Compass Games Volume 1, or Dungeon Degenerates.
Wow. There's a choice.
Yeah.
Who puts out Dungeon Degenerates?
Goblinko, I don't know how you say it. It was a Kickstarter thing. I think that was actually a company formed around a Kickstarter. Have you ever seen that game?
No. 10 feet away.
Yeah, the box, because it's right there.
It's 10 feet.
It is. Game is psychedelic as all get out. The artwork is intentionally that way. And Aaron introduced me to it. My Mr. Marino, if you know him on Board Game Geek, big time Ameritrasher. And the game is really fun. And either plays cooperative, solo, however, So I went out and grabbed a copy on the marketplace. But yeah, went through a few Kickstarters, and it's one of those ones kind of like the Nemo's War where they redo it and sells out. So anyways, it's been January, and I don't think Aaron and I are going to probably play for at least 6 months. So I thought, I'll get it out and solo it a few times.
There you go. John Edwards says it's fun.
Yeah. Looks like the Doom game. I have the Doom game, the first version of it. Aaron taught it to me years ago, and I hated it because it was impossible to win as we sat out there and played. Now, granted, first time, but I was like, at least the video game had an easy level for you to start with. And anyway, so I wasn't a big fan, but then I heard the what do you call it? The expansion had flattened it out and made it more balanced. And then people made some solo systems, and I went out to what you call it, Art Cows. They have a deck of cards somebody put out there that'll let you play it solo. So I've got that one prepped and ready to go here in the next few weeks. I want to try it out.
I think I used Arts Cow to redo the somebody did these upgraded ambush cards that look really cool. And I did that, so you're not using those like yellow looking cards, and they've got pictures and stuff. So a little more roll call here. Let's see. Enrique Romero is in. Ron Nicholson is in. Of course, JD and Matt Curiasis is in. Vorpal Bite. What?
Oh, sorry. I saw a question I needed to probably address. Vorpal asked, how did I make the cards? You print them. This is just straight piece of paper and a printer. And I sized it. I had to do like 3 sizings of it. I print one off and then size it up and see. These are just sleeves. And then you take it cards from a game you don't care for. In this case, it was some type of promo. I think they had a BGG for a presidential, what do you call that dumb game that with the words and people play all the time? Scrabble. I hate that game. They stiffen it because otherwise if you put this in, it's very flimsy because the piece of paper doesn't give any support. Real popular, if you can find a cheap collectible card game. I have like 4 decks of Star Trek The Next Generation. I got them. My sister and I got them. Found out that we didn't know about collectible card games, that they're pretty much broken. The starter sets are broken. You got to spend so much money until you actually have a workable game. Tried playing, was like, this thing sucks. Had the Babylon 5 game. It was the same way. I've heard it's really good, but the starter decks are terrible. But yeah, you get these starter decks on a cheap game, and they make great stiffeners. And then Aaron, he collects stuff he buys stuff off the thrift stores all the time. You know, buys a game for $5, sells it for $15, or he'll assemble stuff and make complete sets. Anyways, he gets a bunch of weird stuff like this. And just here, I know you use cards for stiffeners, and handed me a whole bunch. So, anyways, that's how you do these. Any of these games, like if you're into the Galactic Empire game, what did I just say? Struggle for the Galactic Empire, which crazy how they didn't get sued for that game because that's a Vorlon ship right on the front. How Warner Brothers did not sue them, I don't know. Anyways, that game, the chits are really annoying in it, so I made cards out of it, and I posted them on BGG. So if you ever want them, you just cut them out, get you a bunch of sleeves and stiffeners, and make your own cards. And I've done it for all the Campaign Commander games also.
Excellent. Let's see. We were at John Connor. He is in the house. Now I forgot who I said. So let's see. Subcommandante 73. Bongo's in. I originally said Bongo Gorilla. Well, that's not anywhere close. It's Bongo Riley. I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm doing there, Bongo. So, I mean, I like calling you Bongo Gorilla. That's what I think of you as in my mind now. But maybe that's I don't know. Tell me how to say your full name and I will give you props or I'll do it properly. Let's see. Anybody else? Just jumped on me. I think I got everybody else.
Yeah, JD's comment, casino cards do work really well. Thing you got to watch out on a deck of cards, casino cards, that's why I singled them out, is if you go to like Walmart and buy a deck of cards, you better know what you're getting because these sleeves, these are the ones that are going to easy to get and come in cheap. They're pretty good. They're sized for Magic the Gathering because they kind of set the industry standard and all the collectible games followed suit. So if you put a thin card in there, you end up with flimsy sides and it's hard to shuffle really well. So you need cards that will fit. Casino cards, at least the casinos I've seen, their decks of cards work really well. So just another tip I forgot to mention on that.
All right. Let's see. Kevin Byerwert is in. All right. So let's see here. Are you ready? I'm going to screen share, and then you watch those comments. So that still flows. And I think this is ready to go. Yes, it is.
Oh, Vorpal, the cooperative games, if they don't use any hidden information, they solo just fine. You know, I've played Pandemic probably 90 times solo. You just put them out there because you share stuff for freely in the game. Now, a game like, the World War I game with the weird artwork, I forget the name of it. it uses a lot of hidden information, so it did not solo. And then they made a solo expansion and it sucked. But almost every cooperative game I've ever played solos just fine. And, you know, they don't necessarily have the great history thing that you'll get from a war game, but they will play. So that's how I'm going to do my Dungeon Degenerates and Doom. Actually, Doom isn't cooperative. This is a versus. But anyways, so yeah, a lot of cooperatives will solo fine.
So we have Jeremy Fisher. 6 days ago, first VG or victory games played was Tokyo Express in the early 2000s. His list is 5 Vietnam, 4 Ambush, limited play. Come on, Jeremy, you got to get all that done. France, 1944. Very cool. Yeah, I knew Judd would get excited. 2 Tokyo Express. Number 1 Carrier. Now, there's been a lot of talk about how that Carrier game now has an official app. Well, it's not an official app. The designer of the app game, I think it's called Carrier Battles. It's really not a digital version of the game Carrier. What it is that was what he wanted, was that hidden movement, and it's not like it's licensed from VG or anything.
How close is it? Or
it's close and then beyond. I mean, because really that's what you're doing. You're hunting by sending out flights and keeping up a cap, and also saying where you want to sail to. And then you can use like a pie graph. You can't see me. I'm doing all these motions to the screen, or maybe you can see me a little bit. You do Okay, you do a pie graph on the search vector that you want the group to the planes to use when they go out. So yeah, it's very similar, but it's so smooth. And then you get tidbits of information that come in and everything. And I don't even have the latest updates. My son's using my iPad now, and I need to get a new iPad. So let's see. Nathaniel Robinson, his favorite VG games, and then he's got an empty list. My apologies to everyone, especially Trevor Just, but I don't remember playing any original VG game, not even Bart's secret favorite, Dr. Ruth. I guess none of them hit my radar in the 80s or 90s, and that's only when it really exists, was the 80s. The best he can say is that he almost bought a used copy of Pacific War years ago. So there you go. And he had a few people saying they even thought they had more and they didn't. So let's see. Derek Letter started collecting games in the 70s. He has a similar post, though. He only had 4 total VG games, victory games. So he said, obviously can't do a top 5 list, but he's got number 1, Ambush. So great. And he had some comments on the others. Now, Mosby's Raiders, I bought that whenever it came out, 85 or whatever, and it just didn't really roll for me. It's a solitaire design game, and he goes into some further comments on it. He played it a couple times. One was doing a lot of mail in the question and make sure he was doing it right. So some people love Mosby's Raiders. I feel like I need to try it again. And Judd, I know you played it way back when, didn't you?
It wasn't that long ago. It was probably, 6. I don't know, man. Time flies, but definitely probably 6 years ago, or probably 4 to 7 years ago. I had it, tried it, and it was okay. It wasn't Ambush. That's part of what I was kind of hoping it'd be, Ambush. But the rules are really hard for me to grok. I kept going back to them. I could not wrap my mind. I mean, I'd read it, and it just it wasn't sticking. It was really weird because Victory Games had such slick rule books. And then I found out I wasn't alone. You know, like my comments on when somebody says a rule book's bad, go look at the comments on BGG. If 1 or 2 people say this rule book doesn't make sense, it's probably the person. If you see it 15, 20 times, it's probably the rule book. So, but I've heard a lot of other people say, yeah, that was not Victory Games' finest rule book. I don't know what the story was because everything else I've seen by him has been great.
To me, I remember playing it several times. I remember thinking maybe I'm doing something wrong. It was just kind of lackluster. I mean, it wasn't, it just didn't, I just thought, well, maybe it felt more operational level too. And I thought, well, maybe I'm just a tactical kind of guy, and which I am for sure. So that was kind of where it missed with me. JD, outstanding game company. Here's my top 5. Number 5, Vietnam. Korean War, number 4. 3, Peloponnesian War. reprinted since by GMT. The Fleet series, which is about to be redone again, is what I keep hearing. And number 1, Civil War by Eric Lee Smith. Great list. Here's Matt. Here's Curiosities. I didn't have as many of these as I thought. 5 for him is Mosby's Raiders. 4 is Hell's Highway. Hell's Highway is interesting because I believe it's got the Nazi symbol on the cover, so it wouldn't even sell in Germany. But 3, Carrier. 2, Peloponnesian War, one of Mark Herman's best in his humble opinion. Number 1, Ambush Collection, including expansions. Oh, and he's got the Boa Publishing missions, and he says, take a bow. So I need, if I can ever find some time, I want to come up with some more of those because I wanted to do a whole Western version called Bushwhacked. And then he says,
Vorpal had an interesting comment. Tried to replay Ambush recently. I remembered where all the German soldiers were hiding. Felt like AI scenario cards paragraphs would slow me down. I could do the job faster without it. What was hilarious was it's probably been 10 years since I played the first scenario in Ambush again. But you can hold the map out and I will point to the map and tell you where the German soldiers are. So I just got a good memory. I don't remember where I put my car keys, but I can remember weird stuff like that. I can remember Ron Guidry's 1978 stats. And it's just one of those things. So when I hear people say, yeah, wait long enough, you can replay it. I'm like, not really.
Wow. I think I could probably wait a month and replay the original 8 missions and go, oh, wow, this game's exciting.
There you go.
So, yeah, I don't have that memory. And then there was some great comments besides Dr. Ruth's game and Playboy, the game of elegant lifestyles. How could I forget the G.I. Jane calendar? Yes. So in 88, they put out, what is it? Tiblet, whatever. I think he did some calendar art. It was like pinup art, kind of racy, cartoonish. But yeah, that was out. I remember that. I kind of was like, ooh, I don't know. I don't think my mom would have appreciated it, so I didn't get it. But you could tell the other follow-up games that Victory Games put out that Dr. Ruth was the big seller. Kabuki Kid, 5, Vietnam, 4, Civil War, 3, Second Fleet, 2, Ambush. And she says, I have the nice replacement card deck. That's what I was referencing. But she still needs expansions. Wow. Yeah, I don't. And I've got everything for Ambush, but I think the card deck that I have, I'm sure they've done them for the expansions now too. But and 1, James Bond 007 role-playing game. Yeah, it's an RPG and not a war game, but was a really great game from them. So she enjoyed that. That was her number 1. Those Arts Cal cards are awesome. I went and printed them up. Let's see.
Nathaniel. Oh, sorry.
No, go. What do you got?
Nathaniel, where were you at, man? We could have been partying in the 80s and 90s. Sounds like we're about the same age also. Federation and Empire, baseball, RPGs, I've played a couple, but man, dude, we could have totally been partying hard and watching Next Generation.
Now, what was his question? Because
he just said in the late 80s, 90s, when I was an undergraduate, we played a lot of Federation, Empire, Dynasty League baseball, and several RPGs.
See, that's what I missed out on. Even talking to Tom from the Dice Tower, when he was in college, there was all this massive board game playing going on. And when I was going to college, I was working full time. I wasn't living on campus or even off campus. I was dropping in 2 or 3 classes a semester, just trying to keep things flowing. I did no gameplay because my life was packed. And I'm thinking, man, I missed out on all the fun stuff that was going on.
I played in the dorm room. This is what a dork I was. I got on the Apple IIc. If you remember those things, you had to load DOS off of 5 1/4-inch floppies on it. I made a Starfleet Battles assistant that would run a bunch of the game for you. And my roommate and I would play Starfleet Battles in the dorm room, and then I ran an entire Stratomatic basketball league. I would have played a baseball if I'd had people who played it. So,
see, and that's what I missed out.
Yes, comments about Federation Empire. If you ever played that game, it's a beast. I played its predecessor to death, Federation Space. I played that sucker for 3 months solid during the summer between 8th and 9th grade. I set it up and played all sides. Pretty much go in there and play for 2 to 5 hours a day. That's the kind of game that is.
There you go. That was me with Ambush. My parents were B-17. My parents would come in and kind of check on me, like, why is the boy going outside? All right, we've got GK Rockover. Victory Games was like the Cadillac of war game companies back in the day.
They were.
Oh, yeah. His top 5 was the Ambush series. Liked it a lot more back in the day, but the last time that I played it, I wasn't getting drawn into the narrative, and the constant looking up a paragraph every time you enter a new hex got old very quickly. I guess I lost my imagination somewhere down the line. No, that's the what you've experienced is modern war games. And, I went back in the card sleeve when you're in, can't remember, it's operations, everything flows better. But once you get into rounds, it's a little more clunky, and you're having to work around and move everybody, and so. But I feel you.
I tried to play that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I tried to play that during that Bardius Con, 30 solo games in 30 days. First time I did it, I tried Ambush. And that's where I sat there and oh man, it's been a while since I played Ambush. Because remember, I looked at the board and said I knew right where the Germans were. It's like I better play a different scenario. And it'd been like 3 or 4 years since I'd played it. But the thing was, when I hit the part where you actually make contact with them, I was, I thought, oh yeah, this game will come. It's like, this is the problem I've learned with war games. Oh yeah, I played this game not too long ago. Then you think about it, you look it up. It's been like 3.5 years since you played it. And you're thinking, oh yeah, I'll remember how to play this game. This is easy. And then you struggle. And when you're trying to play 30 games in 30 days, you better know those games well.
Yeah,
and I thought, man, I sure wish Bart was here, because I figured after all your games, you could probably just point the board and say, yes, do this, this, this. Kind of like me in Starfleet Battles. I haven't played the game in 15 years, and I actually no, I did play the Bardi's Con. But yeah, I remember that game. I don't have to reference rules. It's basically encoded into my DNA, and I think my children even know the game and never played it. But I was like, man, I wish Bart was here. He probably could just say, and I finally, it's like, I got to put this thing up. This is going to take way too long for me to figure out how to do all this stuff again.
Well, once you hit the rounds, if I remember, that's what it's called. If I remember, when you hit rounds, then you've got to go down on your chart on the side, which is all about how many activations you get. And that's all based on their perception level or their experience. I can't remember what it's called, but and then there's a little chart. You just put their counter on there, and then now it's move or shoot or whatever. But yeah, that's
respect to Matt Peterson. He's playing Central America. I heard that game's a beast. Never played it, but I heard it's a beast.
Yeah,
that the victory game. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got it, and then I picked up another copy at some point in time. I think I bought a lot, and the version I had. So I've got my version, and I picked up a big lot, but the Central American game in that one did not have a map. If anybody's got the game and they got the map, but they've lost everything else, let me know. I'll pay shipping. 4 is Pacific War. Played it back in the early 90s and haven't tried it since, but I do have the remake on P500. 3 is Gulf Strike. I was really sucked into this one post Desert Storm /Shield. Good game. Judd talked about that. 2 is Civil War. Again, Eric Lee Smith. I don't think that it's been beaten, though I haven't tried the GMT game that supposedly is inspired by this one. And then number 1, Carrier, hands down the most intense solo game ever. He loves the topic, and he got really immersed with this one. Join fans of Victory Games Carrier on Facebook if you have an interest in the game. Wow, that's a good call out there. Well, you got to bring your mic, your message tone down, brother.
Yeah.
Woo. He's got honorable mentions. Was James Bond assault game, not an RPG. This is combat, so that's interesting. He says somewhat wonky. Tokyo Express, owned it but hasn't played yet. And then the Fleet series, he owns a couple of them and dabbled with them very little, but with time invested, I'd get to enjoy them. So that was good. Here's Rick Godot. Rick has Tokyo Express. 4 is Pax Britannia. Yes, it was developed by an accountant and needs a spreadsheet support. It is an interesting take on colonialism sold since I lost the game group that was interested in it. Reread my copy, which discussed the colonial competition as part of the great power conflicts. And the way hate and discontent goes to any kind of colonization or colonialism games, you'll probably never see something like that, at least in the short term. The Peloponnesian War, if I can talk. If he mentions here, the switch side mechanic was a stroke of brilliance. Got me to buy a copy, and I can't say that one right. What is that?
Thucydides. I can't see what it is, but I know what you're talking about.
There you go. Thank you. Say it one more time.
Thucydides.
Perfect. I was choking over that one.
And it's not because I'm a great linguist, because I was the guy who called that one battle Thermopylae for the longest time.
Thermopylae.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. When you finally get it down right, then you know it. 2 is Lee versus Grant, a great take on operational campaigns, was only superseded by the great campaigns of the American Civil War. It also got me reading about Grant and the Overland Campaign. And then he goes on a little bit about he really likes Trudeau's book. 1 is the Civil War. I've played this more than any other strategic Civil War game. Still, he still has his version, and it does need a house rule on dumping leaders, though, and that's everything I've
heard that.
Yep, I find requiring all leaders to be in command of a fighting unit to be helpful. So, let's see. Honorable mention was Vietnam, and then he says victory games kept me interested in gaming during the 80s as life caught up with me, and he noticed that. He noticed that they frequently triggered an interest in the history, and he had to get the books. I agree 100% on that. And I believe the last one here, come on, quit doing that. Why is it doing that? Come here. And boom. So we have Tom D. He doesn't have any of these games. Well, he says he does have France 1940 by Compass. That's on the way, I think, thanks to Judd. I added in that emphasis. Let's see. He does. He would buy anybody's spares. Laugh out loud. His list would contain, for future purchases, Carrier, Ambush, Battle Hymn, which is Ambush in the Pacific, Gulf War, Tokyo Express. We have Robert Carroll. His is 5 across 5 Aprils. That's Eric Lee Smith. 2nd Fleet. 3 is Ambush. 2 is Korean War. 1 is Civil War. I'm going to speed these up. Douglas Pearson. I gave my complete owned and played list in order as they are the only ones played. We're just going to do his top 5. 1 is Across 5 Aprils. 2, the Civil War. 3, Tokyo Express. 4, Mosby's Raiders. 5, James Bond RPG. He does say the Civil War is a classic that was not touched in years. How Lincoln kept McClellan as long as he did is amazing. I agree, actually. He could have won the war in 62 if he didn't blow it at Richmond.
Interesting thing on that is I'm not going to defend McClellan's strategy, but the dude was really good at training troops, and he doesn't get enough credit for Grant's success was partly in due to how well trained that McClellan did train his troops.
That's a military
when they brought
problem.
When they brought him in to run it all, it's because what's his name? The first dude, he whiffed at Bull Run. I can see his face. I'm just blanking on the name. See, I can remember where the ambush guys are at. I'm just blank on the dude's name.
Well, you remember the important things.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, he whiffed so bad, and McClellan had actually won out in the West. So they brought him in, and the big problem that guy had was he kept listening to that Pinkerton dude who kept telling him that, he kept way overestimating the numbers on Lee's side. And if those numbers were accurate, he would have been smart to kind of not leave D.C. But the problem is after that, he should have fired Pinkerton. Then he went into the Peninsula campaign and still kept Pinkerton. But after what was his name? Was it Pope that whiffed? And they brought McClellan back. It's because they had nobody, and he was about the closest thing they had to decent. He was just slow. So I kind of see why Lincoln was doing, because he didn't know that Grant Sherman would be that great. And I was like, he kept putting different guys in there because he put the Beast, I think. Yeah, he put him in, or was it Burnside? Yeah, they got slaughtered at Fredericksburg, and then they got, so after they kept getting whipped like that, it kind of made sense that he was about the best they had. So you kind of can't blame Lincoln, but then he whiffed again at Antietam and got fired for good. He didn't get whipped at Antietam. He not whiffed, meaning he didn't chase down. He could have ended the war possibly then, at least in the Eastern Theater. He could have crushed the Army of Northern Virginia at that point. But then Meade made the same screw up at Gettysburg, and
Sure.
I don't think he gets a harsh enough. People, he won Gettysburg, but then he made the same screw up that McClellan did. He didn't press the issue. Maybe the war could have been over in '63. But Meade doesn't seem to get the rough rap. So I'm not going to sit there and defend McClellan, but he did have some good points that I don't think he gets enough credit for. And I don't really blame Lincoln too much. But anyways, rabbit hole there.
Well, as I've been reading a lot of things, American Civil War. I'm reading one of the biographies of Grant right now. But part of Meade's deal is Meade loved Meade, or not Meade. McClellan loved McClellan. I mean,
yeah, he did.
They've
He was
got
a narcissist, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, it was, and then he built such a beautiful army. Why would you want to break it? So, and then it seemed like he had some Democratic sympathies for the South as well, but it's hard to read into that. So, I think I've
heard a lot of stuff about if he got elected president, he wasn't going to sue for peace. I don't know. I've heard a lot of stuff that, that's kind of the Lincoln side saying, if he gets elected, he is going to sue for peace, and not necessarily sure that one. I don't think McClellan went on record and said, this is what I'll do.
Right.
But,
would agree.
Part of the thing was Grant had the will to, I had the numbers. I can play this game of attrition with you. But, man, Grant was extremely unpopular in '64 after the Wilderness Campaign, Spotsylvania, Cold Harbor. Oh, my goodness, that was a disaster. But, he just kept pushing and pushing. But he was extreme. They call him the Butcher. But yeah, I mean, so kind of McClellan did have some sympathies that he didn't have the will to do that. But at the same time, it's ugly business, and that's what it took to end the thing.
Right.
That's what I'd always commented, that if Howe had Grant's will and pushed the frontal attack at Brooklyn Heights, he could have ended the American Revolution right then and there. But after seeing what happened at Breed's Hill, he didn't want to repeat those kind of casualties. But if he did have Grant's will, he could have ended it, but it would have been ugly.
Right. I think that's exactly, it's clear. So David Wood, 5, Vietnam, 4, France, 44. He's cheating here. He has the Compass Games version, not the original from Victory Games. 3, the Civil War. 2, Pacific War. 1, the Korean War. Let's see. Robert Schinenberger says the whole Fleet series, especially Sixth Fleet for me, but not top 5. Let's see. ERMJ 1986. He's got Vietnam 5, 4 Pacific War, 3 Korean War, 2 the Civil War, and 1 Pax Britannia. So again, it shows up. So I need to play that, I think. Let's see. Here was Schinenberger's further, I believe. I forget why that was out of, but here we go. 5, Korean War. 4, Peloponnesian War. Vietnam, 65-75 was 3, Battle Hymn 2, and 1 was Ambush. We've got Trevor Just, who's in commenting right now. 5 is Mosby's, not Moby, Mosby's Raiders. Looks like he got that for $25 somewhere. Love this cat and mouse game. He's got Across 5 Aprils. He's got Korean War, best Korean War game, he says, and Vietnam War, best overall Vietnam War game, and 1, Ambush, Battle Hymn. Expansions are all pricey, I think. It's expensive, especially, or basically fun in a box. And he says, Bart, hurry up to making more scenarios. And then honorable mention is the 1988. Yes, there we go. G.I. Jane calendar. Ooh.
Little side comment thing going on about Grant. Yeah, he did his share of drinking during the war, but it wasn't. It wasn't during the big battles, it was during the downtime. He would get very bored. I mean, when you looked at when they got around, what was it, Petersburg, when they were basically holed up outside of Richmond, and basically for what, months upon months upon months under siege. That's when he'd get bored and start hitting the bottle. But yeah, when he was doing,
I think some of that was character assassination, if you want.
Oh yeah, but I mean, yeah, he had his share of it, but not, not when he was going in to do the deed, But yeah, the thing Shelby Foote said about him was, he said Grant was as cool as a cucumber, I believe was his phrase. He said, they could be telling you that, running up and freaking out that your left flank's being turned, and he would just calmly and coolly give the orders on what to do. Just never panicked under pressure.
Perfect.
But anyways, there you go. Side thing.
Perfect.
Yeah, if you watch Ken Burns' Civil War thing, they talk about that some, about him drinking during his long downtimes. But yeah, when he was doing like the Vicksburg campaign and marching them south and going across the river and coming north, yeah, he wasn't drunk during that time.
Yeah, I don't think he was drunk during most of it. And then he had his wife living with him during a lot of the stuff too, which he was very close with his wife. Forrest Cole. 5 was Gulf Aegean Strike. 4 NATO. 3 Peloponnesian War. 2 Civil War, and 1 Cold War with honorable mentions: Fleet Series, Pax Britannica, Central America, Korean War, and Vietnam.
Oh, by the way, I did talk to His Epicness, and yeah, Gulf Strike is not on the table for being remade anytime soon. I mentioned that. Guy's got a zillion ideas, and I don't think revisiting that's one of them.
Got it. And the last deal was AJ asking, what's your impression of Battle Hymn? So Battle Hymn is a direct port of Ambush to the Pacific War. It feels Ambush. It's Ambush with Marines in the Pacific. You have Banzai charges. They had a cool thing I mentioned here. I believe you have night battles where you're having to pop up flare illuminations, and they slowly fade, and it gives you this kind of sense of impending doom, where you can't shoot at them when they're not properly lit. So this Banzai charge is rushing your guys, and then you can't see it. So they did a great job. And then you have modules for each. Let me see if I can get out of here real quick. Hold on. Where's my I got to get back into here and stop that, and we'll come back in full screen. So you have Battle Hymn. You then have a module Leatherneck, which I had to buy later. That was the one game. Well, I didn't have that or the open fire tank deal when I was older. I repicked that up in like 2006 or something. But for Ambush, it was Move Out was the next module, which had just 4 missions, some cards, no maps. Then you had Purple Heart, which is probably the best module. It's got the guy on top of a Mark IV tank, I think, with a hatch throwing a grenade down in it. Extra maps, I think 1 big map and then maybe some half maps or something that you used to have to paper clip on, and watch out when you do that because you'll tear your map. It was phenomenal. Loved it. And then they came out with Silver Star, which is down in Italy. The map colors were garish there, and some weird. Some of the quality control went away, and some things didn't go on the missions quite right. Still fun, but and then you had the 2-player version, which I picked up after the fact too. I can't remember what it's called. Never played that with anybody, but I had to have it.
Yeah, I forget. I can.
Yeah, I know. It's something Strike or something. Somebody will put it in the comments. But the modules were great. Definitely Purple Heart's the by far the best, really, and it's expensive. That's the sad part.
Yeah, that's when because I got my second copy of Ambush. I had it in the 80s, sold it to a buddy in a trade, and then got it in 2000 when I discovered eBay. And I think I got it for $20 or less. But
Silver Star is the module there, Trevor. Silver Star is the last module for Ambush. I can't remember there's a 2-player version. I've got it. I've never played it against anybody,
but yeah, after I got into BGG around about 2010 or so, I thought, you know what, I probably should get all this ambush stuff now that I know it exists. I didn't know it existed until then. And whoa, that was 10 years ago, and that stuff was higher than a kite. Ambush was still pretty reasonable, but all the expansions were ridiculous.
Yeah, they were getting pretty hard. I was at my one and only time at like WBG. I think it was 2000 Shell Shock.
Shell Shock, there it is.
I was at BG or WBG, and that might have been where I got Leatherneck, because I went to their little auction, not little auction, it's an auction, a game auction. And somebody, they put up on auction the whole set. So I had Ambush and I had all the modules, but it had in there Battle Hymn, and then it had Leatherneck. I was like, man, I will pay for that. I really just need Leatherneck, and I'll resell the other ones. And I think I got, maybe Battle Hymn wasn't in there, but I got the whole set for $75. And I knew what it was worth, because I just knew this great. Somebody even came up to me after I bought it and said, "You overpaid for that. That's a solitaire system." I was like, "Yeah, I know." So
we must tell the Emperor, if you could get it in the expansion for 75, you got to steal.
Yeah, I know. It was just somebody was like, "You overpaid for that. That's a solitaire system." I'm like, I know exactly what it is. So, and I had not seen Leatherneck come up even on eBay at the time. So I was like, I would have bought that for probably $75 by itself at that point.
Yeah.
But, there's always somebody in the peanut gallery. You don't know, that's a lie. You overpaid for that. I think it was a guy I was bidding against. I was like, yep, wanted it.
Hey, no transaction takes place in the free market unless both parties are satisfied.
There you go. And the guy selling that
might have said that.
Yeah. Well, the guy selling that was thrilled. And I remember thinking, dude, you should have broken these up into individual auctions instead of the whole set. But
oh yeah, the earlier comment, really early in the thing, Sub Commandant was painting some minis for Team Yankee. If you haven't done so, before you play that game, read the book. It is awesome. I know you and I both read it, but yeah, it's cool because it's a programmed rules, teaches as you play, and each scenario just kind of follows the book. So, anyways, definitely cool game.
Team Yankee.
There, right there on the end, right by the picture Devil's Tower.
Got it. Yeah, Team Yankee is where I was not interested in being in any kind of a tracked vehicle. Man, they just got lit up. And that ended up being, I should have done that. Instead, I landed in a light infantry unit. We were walking. We were humping everywhere. I could have been in 11 Charlie unit, which is, they had some mobile 113 mortars, and you just drive around everywhere. And that would have been great. That's all right. I did what I did, and I liked what I liked. So let's see. Vorpal, I played a lot of general quarters rules and loved naval miniatures until Greg said it's nothing more than close range and roll hot. He was correct. Yeah, that's all. A lot of the naval games is just close in and then hope to roll well. Vorpal Bite has a good point with Twilight 2000. That's got like 5 days left on a Kickstarter. There's a company out of Sweden that does great games. They've got, I can't remember. They're called, I can't remember what their company's called, but they've done a remake of like Aliens role-playing game. They did Tales of the Loop role-playing game, which got all these awards. And I had Twilight 2000 as a kid, and they just hit their stretch goal. They got their last one. They got to come up with new ones, which was it's the Black Madonna. And it was one of the little individual submissions, and that's going to be rewritten and reprinted. So go look at that. It looks like it's going to be fabulous.
Have they ran Kickstarters before?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Huge hits. I've got a buddy. They did like a D&D kind of one, but it's their own characters, and their whole deal is that it's not as mathy. It is hard, and your characters will die. So I remember thinking, man, I wish they would do Twilight 2000. And sure enough, they did. I've signed on and backed already. So if you're interested at all in Vorpal says, I still have complete set of Twilight, even got Vice signature on one set of rule books. That is cool. So
yeah, carrier battles game, I was asking you about that because I've been pondering the last couple of days maybe getting the computer game and selling my copy because I haven't punched my copy yet. So yeah, it's sweet condition. Anyway, but yeah, I've been pondering that because I thought if I get the computer game and the computer game will do what it does, the other one does, I don't see myself hitting, especially if you play a game and then don't play it for 3 years or so, and you have to go reread the rule book. And if there's a lot of bookkeeping and it's keeping the books for you, so that's why I've been kind of trying to get.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing when you send out your, because you've got some, they've even upgrade or two. I haven't redone, but when I was playing before, or the update, it's amazing because you totally don't know where the Japanese fleet is, and you're sending out your search planes, and you've got to figure out then how heavy a cap are you doing, and then you might be searching, and all of a sudden you're getting hit, and it's like, oh my god, and I still don't even know where they are. And there was a couple times I lost horribly, and then a couple other times where I'm like, ooh, replay that right now, and I'm gonna, it's randomized, so the fleets never start in the same locations, neither yours nor theirs. And then different things happen. But yeah, I started to learn most of the game is your search parameters and how you're going to do it and how they're going to work. And you got land-based, you can use B-17s to do search patterns and all kinds of stuff. And multiple different actions or you can play through them. And it was very, very fun. And then once you do locate them, it's how quickly can you get a strike on them. What is that? If Pepsi can do it, Judd can.
Do you remember when Pepsi had that thing about if you got so many points, they'd give you like an F-16 or something? I don't remember what it was, a fighter jet. And then some dude actually did it. And then Pepsi's like, this was a joke, don't you? Then he took them to court and won. They had to pay him a whole bunch of money.
Holy
moly. They couldn't get a military aircraft.
Wow.
Anyway, somebody's called me that I'm going to get if I trade that, I'd get an aircraft carrier out of it. But yeah, anyways, I was getting ready to probably sell some games on the Facebook marketplace. But I think on that, I'm going to get the computer game, probably ask for it for Christmas, see how it works. If I like it, then sell the game separately.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Not really much of a trade. There's nothing close to being that I want that's worth that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the most expensive game I got on my trade list I'm looking for is Merchants or Marauders. And I can buy that game for like $35.
You're always playing the U.S. side, but they had it was an upgrade you could do for the 2-player version where you could then link up in the game and then someone can play the Japanese. And that was another cool thing that was in there. He worked that out as like, hey, if you like it and this, you pay a little extra. Now it opens up to the 2-player version, and you can link in with other players. And I never did that, but boy, that looked very cool. So, and then I like Nathaniel Robinson says, damn, there's a good Kickstarter every week. That is true. I've gotten a little bit more refined on it. I like what Awaken Realms is doing out of Poland. They are doing these, they did this War of Mine. Oh, they're doing Ether something. They did China Wall is getting ready to come out. They were a miniature painting company, but their stuff looks good for the bling. But the hardcore war games, yeah, it's just a nice way to put your games out, because if they get funded, then you know how much demand you have. It's a great way of doing it.
There's I created a geek list years ago of war games on Kickstarter, and basically you see one, you go out there, you add it to it, everybody's subscription triggers, and then you can kind of follow what's going on out there so long as people are doing it. Might have to make a post on the war game forum just to remind folks it's out there. I'll usually post the Worthington stuff because I'm on their newsletter. So if I see something pop up, sometimes I'll go out there and do theirs. And I'm trying to think if I don't do a lot of companies that work with Kickstarter actually, so or anything like that where I'm subscribed.
Hey, Kabuki Kid. Hey, by the way, we gave out your games. We know you like the James Bond RPG was your number 1, Kabuki. Hey, so Judd, we're coming up on our hour. We've got 36 eyeballs watching right now. Anything else you want to kind of cover before we wrap it up?
Nothing I can think of. I think we've hit victory games pretty well.
Your shirt was throwing me for a while, but when you lean back, I could figure out it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I love it because it's kind of like he's in the dark and he's crawling down. Yeah, it was funny because there was a wrinkle here, there was a move there, and I'm like, I can't tell what's his shirt. Is that a map of the world? Is that what is that? Is that a pandemic thing? And then you lean back and the shirt straight, and I'm like, that's Spider-Man. I can see it.
Oops. There's Spider-Man too, right there.
Yeah, I see him.
Right next to a Klingon.
Ooh, nice. All right, let's see if we've got any other any questions to come in. Like I said, look forward to, I'll get the Tom Shaw show out. It's going to be a very different kind of show, and it's probably going to be a little long. I'm having to kind of do everything. And again, just for fun, I brought on a younger guy that I supervised that knew everything about pickleball. So I had him pop on. So I had somebody, and then my son pops on and tries to do a Kermit the Frog voice, which is totally appropriate for the show. You'll see that when we get to it. Let's see. Can you do a show based on miniatures wargaming? I probably cannot. What about you?
I could do top 5 dudes on a map. Easy.
Yeah. But miniature wargaming, the closest I have is what I've gotten from Trafalgar Editions. Jose out of Spain. I mean, I've got his Trafalgar, where it's the ships, which are working as miniatures, and then 1805 Austerlitz, which I just put out a review on. And then there's Waterloo 1815. And otherwise, I don't have a miniatures war game other than those. And
I think the closest I got is there's a game called A Bridge Too Far, Operation Market Garden, and it's put out by the guys who do Flames of War. But it's not a Flames of War game. It's a self-contained game. It has plastic pieces, and I guess you can incorporate it. But, yeah, as far as them dudes down at the game store that have their terrain all set up and they pull out the new that's a level of dedication.
Yep.
I'm just looking for somebody. I was talking to, who was it? Oh, person at the eye doctor's office. She said her husband does that, like plays Warhammer and stuff. And I said, ask him if he would be willing to paint my Space Hulk minis. I will pay him, because Space Hulk has all these like different arm pieces you put on to tell their weapons apart, and I can't tell them apart, especially with old eyes and stuff. And so, yeah, like that's a level way above me. So, and I said, I don't even need the Gene Stealers painted. I know who they are. They all look the same. But those like 5 Space Marines, I would love to get them painted by somebody who knows what they're doing.
Vorpal listed Wings of Glory, Age of Sail. I almost got into the Age of Sail. The
Wings, what was that?
That's World War One, but then they did even a World War II version.
Yeah, I had that one. It was called Dawn of World War II, and then they changed it over to you could play with miniatures, or they had cards in it, and that's what I had.
And by the way, I'm trying to find if anybody has and wants to sell if they're not using them. For my B-17 game, the little miniatures for the FW-190s, the ME-110s, and the BF-109s, if you have those and you're not using them, let me know, because instead of the cards, I want to have those little planes on there attacking the B-17. It looks so
I have
cool.
Little metal planes.
Do you have the Corgi ones? Do you have the Corgis? Corgi put out.
Well, this doesn't really help you. Here's my cup, maybe about that wide, but
maybe
or coffee cup reference, probably about as wide as my coffee cup. There, that part. But yeah, the metal airplanes, they would be oversized on the B-17 board, but
the Wings of Glory ones or Wings of War or whatever, the Eagles Reich or something, they're about the right size, and they look pretty good. So if anybody has some, I tried to find some, and I can find the American ones for a good price, but all these German ones, because like I said, I need like 4 FW-190s or 5 ideally, 5 BF-109s, and at least 3 110s, and I just want to bling it up a little bit.
Your air pack. Don't you have the air pack from?
Well, I've got the old
one. There's a painted mini in there of a 109 you could use. You could throw it out there for variety.
Yeah, I could. And that would probably fit in. But I really want 5 FW190s, 5 BF109s, and 3 110s so I can cover the shorties as they come in.
Yeah, and then the new one has unpainted, and sadly it's unpainted minis. They're really cool looking, but so.
All right, let's see what's in, and then we'll get on out of here. Sub Commandante, look at Warlord Games, Blood Red Skies as they do 1 to 100 scale World War II planes. Very good. Let me take a photo of what you said so I don't have to go look at it later if I can get off this screen, because that is perfect. Sub Commandante.
By the way, my phone quit chirping. My daughter's team won, so
woo!
I think she hit the kill spike that won the game too. So
ooh, that is nice. Thank you for staying with us and doing the show. And if any time, Judd, family is first is my rule. So if you ever have something like that come up, family's first, we can always postpone.
Well, that's why I canceled out of the Consim World down in Dallas right before COVID broke out. First weekend of March, I canceled that because I had a kid. She was playing her last volleyball game of the year, and my other daughter was in a band concert. So I was like, I'm skipping. I can hang out with War Gamers later. Kids only come along once, but shoot, she tries to play Monday. So War Game Monday, I'll play until I go to her volleyball game.
There you go. Yeah. So Nathaniel says, yeah, Blood Red Skies expansion would give you the numbers you need. So I'll look into that. Kabuki says,
have you done a list of block war games? No, I'd love to. If you want to, definitely could do that. And I'd even go so far on mine, I will do Fog of War block games because I don't think people want to hear for the 100th time how much I love Command and Colors.
Right.
Or for that matter, the joke is you could put coin games on there because Cube is a block. But no, I would actually do Fog of War block games. I could easily do that.
Well, that's cool. Maybe we do that. Sorry, I'm stealing another pick. Boom. I don't know if that one was in focus. All right. Let's see. Congrats to Judd's daughter from Kabuki Kid. Let's get that on the screen.
There you go. I'll let her see that.
All right. We're going to wrap this up. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Thanks for all the commenters for commenting and being just part of the show. It's a blast to do the fans list. And thank you, Judd, for coming on.
Sure.
All right. Game it, you gamer gods. I'm going to end this. Ooh, War Games with Wood. That's what Nathaniel says should be our title when we do block games. I think that would be perfect. That would be perfect. All right.